Okay, so welcome back to another episode of Reboot. And thank you so much for the comments, the likes to my previous video, which was a response to some of the comments from my Cambodia is not Thailand light video. But I think we'll put that to one side and talk about something really positive. Now, we talked in the last video about how cultures influence and shape identity. So what I thought I would do is talk in this video about 10 ways that I think the West could learn from the value system in Cambodia. And I'm going to use the second part of my video from Angkor Wat to have as the backdrop whilst we discuss this in more detail. So let's go to Angkor Wat. Okay, so number one, I've called patience as a social value. In Cambodia, things happen when they happen. There's a natural rhythm. People wait, whether that's for buses, for meals, for answers, without exploding in frustration. In the West, we've made efficiency our god. Everything is urgent. Everything has to be instant. But we've lost something in that, the ability to sit with time, to accept a delay without feeling wronged by it. Cambodia teaches you that waiting isn't wasting. It's just a part of life. And beyond just waiting, people don't assume that inconvenience is injustice. A slow queue or a power outage doesn't send people into a rage spiral. There's an understanding that life isn't always seamless, and that acceptance, not outrage, is often the more peaceful response. So the second thing I've called the strength of informal networks. And, if we think first about the West, we are huge on institutions. You solve a problem by filling in a form, calling a helpline, or escalating a complaint. But in Cambodia, what I've seen is that people rely on relationships, a friend of a friend, or someone who knows someone. It's not always efficient, but it is human. And it reminds us that solutions don't always come from systems. Sometimes they come from community. This fosters trust, accountability, and an understanding that you're part of a web, not just a solitary actor in a system. It's something the West could relearn, that the fastest solution isn't always the most human. So number 3 on my list, I've called How to Live with Less and Still Be Fine. Because Cambodians often live with very little, but what has been striking to me is how much dignity, generosity, and joy you'll find in daily life. The West is addicted to consumption, more stuff, more tech, more status, but Cambodia teaches you that enough really can be enough. That security and self-worth don't have to come from your possessions. Children here can be seen making toys from bottle caps and sticks, while Western kids cry over the wrong colour iPad case. It's not that poverty is ideal, far from it, but there's a kind of spiritual wealth that arises when people learn to find joy in simplicity. Number 4 I've called the integration of spiritual life. In Cambodia, Buddhism isn't just a religion, it's woven into the fabric of daily life. You see monks on the streets, spirit houses in businesses, offerings at dawn. It's subtle, but presence and reflection are part of the cultural rhythm. In the West, spirituality is often relegated to Sunday mornings or wellness retreats. Cambodia shows how life feels different when the sacred is part of the ordinary. It brings a kind of grounding. Life isn't just about success or failure, it's about intention, karma, ritual. The West is severing the spiritual from the practical and has lost a sense of daily reverence that anchors people emotionally. So if we talk about respect across generations, in the West, we put our elders in homes. In Cambodia, grandparents live with a family, they raise children. Their opinions are heard and their presence matters. That sense of multi-generational living teaches humility. It reinforces continuity. It challenges the Western notion that youth equals value and old age equals irrelevance. The effect goes well beyond the family dynamics. It shapes how people relate to time itself. In Cambodia, there's a long memory. Elders aren't obstacles to progress, they're custodians of tradition, and they give the young a deeper sense of context. So collective identity, not just individual freedom. Because I think in the West, we champion individualism. Be who you want, do what you want. That's powerful, but it can also be isolating. Cambodia leans more towards collective responsibility. The family matters. Community comes first. And while it has its limits, there's a wisdom in it, a reminder that freedom means more when it's rooted in belonging. People here understand that personal actions have community consequences. You don't act like the center of the universe. And that's not repression, it's mutual respect. And it creates a more cohesive, less lonely social fabric. So, number 7, practical wisdom over credentials. So, in the West, we revere degrees, titles, credentials. But in Cambodia, you'll often find that the most capable person is the one who's done the job for years, not the one with the certificate. There's a kind of practical intelligence here that gets overlooked in the West. It reminds us that real knowledge isn't always formal and that experience still counts. It also encourages humility. No one assumes that education equals superiority. Cambodians are often quietly competent, and in that quiet, there's an important lesson. Let skill, not resume, do the talking. Okay, so for a minute, let's just think about unfiltered emotional expression. Because my experience is that Cambodian people, especially outside of the urban centres, are emotionally open. You'll see tears at funerals, laughter in markets, warmth in the smallest gestures. But in the West, we're trained to regulate, suppress, keep things professional. Cambodia shows us that being emotionally visible is not a weakness, it's authenticity. And it creates a society that feels more emotionally honest. There's less masking, less performative politeness, and that creates a space for real human connection, something that the West is increasingly starved of. So, number 9, flexible thinking in daily life. Again, thinking of the West first, the West thrives on structure and policy. But in Cambodia, when rules don't work, people adapt. There's a kind of flexibility that's born of necessity, and it's incredibly effective. It teaches resilience, the ability to pivot, to say, okay, this didn't work, so what now? That's something the West could use more of, especially in a world that is forever changing. It also removes ego from problem solving. There's less shame in improvisation, and that fosters innovation, not in labs or think tanks, but in the everyday hustle that keeps life going. So last on the list, and again, these are not ranked in order, I've put endurance without entitlement. And I think this is perhaps the most powerful thing that Cambodia could teach the West, is how to endure without resentment, without bitterness, without shouting for more. This is a country that's been through an unimaginable trauma, and yet what you often feel here is not anger, but grace, a quiet dignity, an ability to carry pain without letting it define every interaction. Cambodians don't walk around demanding compensation for every hardship. They just keep going. And that kind of emotional resilience, unglamorous but certainly real, might be the most valuable thing of all in a world where people are incredibly and increasingly fragile. So if you've made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. So that's my take on the 10 things that the West could learn from Cambodia. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as with all of my videos, it's a conversation, it's my perspective. It's a conversation, so if you have any thoughts, any questions, any comments, please drop them in the comments box below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.